Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here to present you my NBA morning shoot around for Tuesday, December 10th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all my NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. If you haven't come and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash signups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for our DFS needs. So make sure to check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So we got a solid little 4-game slate. There's definitely some really good plays on this slate. The biggest thing standing out to me early is kind of where the value is. But at the same time, when we're talking about value, there's not no crazy expensive guys like Giannis, like Doncic that are 12,000, like Harden that are 13,000. The most expensive guys on the slate, I mean, it's really just Embiid at 10.4. After that, everybody's under 10,000. So at the same time, I'm looking for value. We're not going to need as much value as we would if there were like the crazy expensive guys. So we could definitely make it work with the a higher price guy, couple mid tier guys, etc. But yeah, we still want to find some good value if we can. So we're going to have to kind of wait on injury news throughout the day, as we generally do with NBA. But yeah, man, we'll start at point guard. I'm going to kind of go through this, give you my top 5 plays at each position, kind of get you started with the player pool, and we can kind of go from there. So we'll start at point guard. We'll start at the top. I mean, you got Trae Young and you got Damian Lillard. I really like both of these guys. I definitely think both of these guys are in play. It's tough to give one a nod over the other because both of them do so much for their team. I mean, we got them projected right. Right at the same, both projected right around 45 fantasy points to get you almost 4.75 value. Man, it's tough. I probably would give an edge a little bit more to Damian Lillard just because he's going against a young New York team, and I think that Portland could definitely win this game. Also, too, he's going to give you that kicker kind of at the end of the night. Trae Young going against Miami team, who's a little bit better of a defensive team, but nonetheless, I definitely think that both of them are in play. It's really a coin flip who you want to go with. Like I said, I would give a little bit more of a nod to Damian Lillard, but it's very, very close. Then we'll move down a little bit. I mean, you can look at Ben Simmons and GPPs, but Denver's a really good defensive team, so I'm not really too high on Ben Simmons. How I was the other day when he absolutely went bonkers. Moving down a little bit, you can look at a guy like Terry Rozier going against Washington. We love targeting Washington all year long. They're a team that doesn't play defense. They just try to outscore everybody, run and gun. They're really fast-paced, team out there in Washington. I think gives a bump to Terry Rozier at 7,200, playing right around 30 minutes. We got him projected at 33 fantasy points. I definitely think that he is in a pretty solid spot here. Then we'll look on the flip side of things. You got Ish Smith. He's in that start and roll right now. With Isaiah Thomas out, even when he was coming off the bench. Either way, at 5,200, I mean, the guy's playing very, very well. We got him projected at almost 30 fantasy points today, which is almost 6 times value. So I really like his Smith. I think he's a guy that you probably put in your cash games and you kind of use that as your mid tier value and kind of pay up a couple other spots. Really like Ish Smith today against Charlotte. One more guy that's really standing out, I think that you can look at Kendrick Nunn going against Atlanta. Atlanta's a young team. He's going to be going head-to-head with Trae Young, and I think this is a pretty good spot for him. Had a kind of a bad game last game, so I think people will be off of him, but I've played him a bunch of times this year, and the guy is pretty consistent for the most part, so I definitely think Kendrick Nunn at 4,900 is in play as well. Moving on to the shooting guard position. You got the two obvious guys up top. You got Bradley Beal going against Charlotte. He's in a really good spot here. Then you got Jimmy Butler, going against Atlanta. Very up-tempo game. I probably would give the little bit of a bump to Jimmy Butler, but we do got Bradley Beal projected a little bit higher, 4 points higher here. Both of them are really good plays. I mean, if you probably want to get one of those guys in your lineups, unless you're going to kind of go more of the balanced approach and go a bunch of guys around the 7,000 mark. I mean, you could definitely do that on this slate as well. There is a bunch of those guys priced that way, but I like Bradley Beal and Jimmy Butler. Both, they definitely are the two the two guys that you pay up for at shooting guard. And like I said, our system has Bradley Beal projected a little bit higher just for the clarification. Moving down a little bit, two more guys that we can look at. I like Devontae Graham. He's a guy that is having a really, really good season. He is a GPP play for me, but he gets a good matchup. I love targeting anybody against Washington. That's been kind of my golden rule all year, and it hasn't really let me down too much. I'm going to probably come in lower owned because he isn't one of the more popular names on the slate, but he is a really good play. CJ McCollum going against New York. This is a spot where I think Portland should dominate and have a really good game at home. CJ McCollum, Lillard. I like a bunch of these Portland guys. You can even throw Melo. We'll get there. But CJ McCollum, 7,400, good price tag. I think that he's a solid spot here. Then if we want to pay down a little bit, we can look at a guy like Tyler Hero at 5,400 in an up-tempo game against Atlanta. Whether he starts or he comes off the bench, the guy definitely gets some run. They like playing this young guy. He's one of the future cornerstones of this franchise. And like I said, 5,400, we got to project it at 26 fantasy points. What sounds about right. I think that, he does give you a pretty decent floor there. I like Tyler Hero. He's a guy that I'm really, really on today going against Atlanta. Moving on to small forward, we'll start at the top. You can look at Tobias Harris. I'm not really too on these Philly guys, to be honest with you, because Denver is a really good defensive team. I do want to throw that out there. But he is a guy that you could consider in play. A guy that I'm really liking is actually on the flip side, Will Barton, 6,200. I like Will Barton a lot in this spot. He's playing the minutes. We know Will Barton could definitely fill up the stat sheet. I think Will Barton's a really, really good play today. And then we'll go to Carmelo. Man, I like Carmelo. He's a guy that nobody wanted to give this guy an opportunity. They were saying his career is done. He came to Portland. The guy's been playing very, very well. He's a 20-point scorer. Any night he can score 20 points. I'm not going to say he's going to average that, but he definitely has the upside. I'm glad that Portland gave him the opportunity. Now he gets a matchup tonight against his former team in New York. Man, I think that this is a pretty good spot for Carmelo Anthony at 6,000, a very good price tag as well. I think that Carmelo is a guy that you definitely want to consider today. And I think he gives you a pretty good floor as well. He's playing some minutes. Miles Bridges for Charlotte, another Charlotte guy going against Washington. 5,400 is a pretty good price tag. He's a guy that does a little bit of everything. We got him projected right about 5 times value. Really good play against Washington. Kent Bazemore stepped into that starting role with Rodney Hood going out, unfortunately. Bazemore's a guy who played a lot last year in Atlanta. Hasn't got quite the opportunity with Portland that we wanted, but now being in that starting role with Rodney Hood out, he's not splitting those minutes no more. The minutes are starting to trend up a little bit. We got him projected at 5.4 value. I think that he's a really good play. And like I said, the minutes are going to be there for him, so we got to like that as well. Lastly, one guy I'll throw out there, that's usually pretty under-owned that I think is a really good play. Where's he at? Do we have him on here? Let me see. Nope, we don't got him. So I also like. Oh no, I'm sorry. The guy I was thinking about. He's actually a power forward. The last guy though I would throw out there for small forward. I like Derrick Jones. He's been hurt. He's coming back. Bare minimum price tag. This is a guy that they really like. He should get some run. He's a value guy we could possibly look at going against Atlanta. Like I said, this game should be a very, very up-tempo game. And at 3,500 bare minimum, I like Derrick Jones. Moving on to the power forward spot. I'm going to start with Bam. He's a game-time decision. I expect him to play, though, against Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't have a guy that can really match up with Bam. He's a guy that, double-double machine. Any night. The thing I like about him is I don't like counting on defensive stats, but Bam is a guy that always gets defensive stats. He's one of those guys that you can kind of, put him in there and he's going to get some defensive stats, and you can feel comfortable with that. If you're going to pay up, I think he's a guy that you could look to pay up for in an up-tempo game going against Atlanta. Next, we'll go with Hachimura. He's been playing a bunch of minutes with all the injuries they have out there in Washington at 6,600. I think it's still a very fair price tag. I think this game is going to be a up-tempo game between Washington and Charlotte. Charlotte's a young team as well that can definitely get out and run. And they got a point guard in Terry Rozier that can push the ball. So I like Hachimura. I'm in this spot at 6,600. Another guy, we're talking about Washington and how they're hurt. They're depleted with injuries. Davis Bertans is a guy that's getting an opportunity as well, whether he starts or coming off the bench. They're finding minutes for this guy. I definitely rather play Hachimura for 400 more, but Bertans is going to be a lower owned guy, at the power forward spot. And hey, man, he definitely has some upside. He's showing it a couple of times already this year. Jabari Parker at 6,000 going against Miami. Jabari Parker is a guy that can go off for 40 fantasy points any night. I've played him year in and year out. We got him projected at 31 fantasy points. The price tag is down a little bit right now. I think this is a really good spot for Jabari Parker to have a really good game. And I really like the price tag while it's a little bit depleted right now. PJ Washington for Charlotte. This was the guy that I was looking at the small forward spot. I forgot he was the power forward. He is a game time decision, so he's probably going to come in, pretty low owned. He's a guy that's playing well for Charlotte, though. We got him projected at 29 fantasy points, and he does have 35 fantasy point upside to get us 6x. So I definitely think he's a guy that we can look at. And like I said, he is going to come in lower owned as well. That's what I like about him. Moving on to center, Joel Embiid. I will mention him because we got him projected pretty high at 5.4 value. But the spot against Jokic, it worries me a little bit. I don't like going with big mans going against each other. Somebody ends up getting in foul trouble. It's just always how it goes. But I still think that Joel Embiid is in play. Jokic on the flip side, 8,800. You can save 1,600 going against Joel Embiid. We got both of them projected at over 5 times value, so you got to really consider them. Both of them are in play. If I had to choose one between these two, me personally, I probably would go with Embiid and then Jokic second, just because Jokic hasn't been looking right this year. But, at the same time, because I'm saying that, he definitely probably will be lower owned as well. And when we're looking to take down some GPPs, we got to have those lower owned guys. Hassan Whiteside going against New York at 8,600. I think this is a really good spot for Whiteside as well. New York doesn't have a big guy that could kind of really, mess with Whiteside. They do have the young rookie in Robinson. I understand that, but he has been coming off the bench. So Whiteside, this is a pretty good spot for him. Wagner, he's in that starting role at center for Washington. He's been playing very well. The price tag has came up a little bit. I do want to, mention that. But, the minutes are there. So I definitely think that we can look at Wagner, even though on a $6 price tag. With the price tag rising a little bit, I think that the ownership could go down a little bit as well. A couple more guys. I'll kind of just clump these guys together. Cody Zeller, Buyembo. Both of these guys I think are in play. It's up-tempo game against Washington. They both should get some run. They're basically splitting minutes. But the price tags aren't too high. Like I said, I think both of them are in play. We got to, kind of see if we hear any injury news with Marvin Williams. If Marvin Williams is out, I think that, they could play both these guys together possibly. So that's some news that we got to kind of wait on. And that's really where I'm at for this video, for today's slate. It's a small slate, so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you want a more in-depth analysis on the slate, make sure to check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest, all right? Peace out.